All right, we're going to get this month's webinar kicked off. Welcome. I'm Erin Johnson with eXp Realty and Outstanding Ohio. I help people buy and sell houses in the Copley, Fairlawn, Bath, and Summit County surrounding areas. And I am happy to have my guest here with me today, Brian Roach, the Marketing and Business Director with Always Be Fair Roofing and Restoration. And he is going to give us some inside scoop on insurance claims and kind of some of the big mistakes to avoid. And so to kick it off, we're going to just talk about the elephant in the room. Like I mentioned, he does roofing and restoration, not insurance. So why are we talking to you about insurance today, Brian?
Yeah, well, the majority of the work that we do is claim work, okay? And claims come from storms, wind, hail, fire, water loss, burst pipes, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, everybody sees the commercials and everybody, says they've got their insurance company on their side, that everyone's happy and it's a dance and it's a song. But you really find out, what you may have done wrong when you need your insurance company and you have a claim. So we operate as Always Be Fair Roofing, okay? And what we tell people, because there's a lot of not so fair and honest roofers, and that roofing is the majority of what we do. That's our DBA. And we go, we're fair to the customer, fair to the insurance company, and fair to ourselves and our staff. But our legal name is ABF Roofing and Restoration, LLC. Now, the reason we have that and everything that we do when we deal with an insurance company, we use that because when they see and restoration, they know that we're familiar with claims.
Okay.
So if we're just Always Be Fair Roofing, then, they think that we're just a roofing company and we don't know the games that insurance companies play or how to deal with it.
Interesting.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
operating as the roofing and restoration gives us credibility with them, and they know that we have the software and the know-how to work with them.
Okay. So what
So,
types of, besides roofing, what else do you do?
well, we do pretty much anything that's related to a claim. I had a large claim started last July in Cuyahoga Falls where a massive tree fell on a house.
Mm-hmm.
So that job included, removing the tree off the house, temporary protection,
Okay. Yeah.
framing, insulation, drywall, paint, roofing, gutters, siding, brick, electrical, plumbing. I mean,
Okay.
it was a $250,000 job.
Okay.
So we handled everything on that. Okay, we are the general contractor and we work with the insurance company to get the appropriate things paid for and completed.
Okay.
So, but
all centered
ultimately,
around the claim. It's not like you're
yep,
running out and doing bathroom remodels or anything like that. Like it's
exactly.
okay.
All claim centered.
Okay.
So, we do roofing is the majority of our business because that is what is most needed.
Okay.
Wind and hail happens, leaks happen. We also do what we call retail roofing, when a claim is not involved.
Okay.
So when a claim's not involved, we still do the similar process, the similar quality, the similar warranty. When you're working with an insurance company as part of a claim, you cannot not do ice and water, not replace the drip edge, not, reflash the chimney because you've signed a document with the insurance company and with the customer that says you're going to do these things.
Okay.
So you
but you're saying they're like kind of optional sometimes, like you could opt not to do them. Okay.
Yep. On the retail side, when you're dealing retail, and that's why, insurance pays usually much more than retail does. Okay. Because you're obligated to actually do it correctly. Whereas when somebody's selling retail, they can tell you they're going to do something and not do it, and you'll never know. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And because you're not going to watch and you don't know the different aspects of the job. Did they put ice and water shield in the valley? I don't know. You don't know. You might
Right.
not
I
even
don't
know
even know
where
what
the
that
valley
is. Yeah.
is.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, we do some retail, but our retail usually comes from people that we've done insurance work with and they know our quality and they want our quality and they're willing to pay for it.
Okay.
If you're looking for the lowest cost, it's never going to be us. If you're
Okay.
looking for fair and warranty and quality, then we'll do that.
Yeah. So where does this insurance coverage like come into play and what type of claims have you handled?
Well, let's talk about mistakes people made. Okay. So one of the things, and I don't have my cheat sheet notes that I sent to you. So
Okay.
you
I'll
can
see if
hit me with
I'll
stuff if I
test you.
forget stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, but right now, all of the commercials, all the big companies are saying how easy it is and how you can save money. Okay,
Hmm.
whether it's through bundling or whether it's creating your own or customizing your own. Okay, the mistakes people make is switching carriers without getting an apples to apples comparison.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, I say this on a pretty regular basis. Premiums are a formula of risk. Every insurance company is using the exact same statistics and numbers and prices to rebuild. So if the premium's less, they've probably shifted some of the risk to you in one way or another.
Okay.
Okay. Now, some of the things that are being done out there that to me are semi unethical or not honest is policies will have a clause that you think you're getting replacement cost for your roof, okay, or for your siding instead of actual cash value. I'll explain that in a minute. But they'll have a clause in their policy that they don't tell you that at age 15 of your roof, the policy automatically converts to an actual cash value policy and not a replacement cost policy.
Okay.
Okay. So on
And
the
what does that
front,
mean? What does the cash value mean?
yep. Let's say you've got a 30-year shingle and your roof is 15 years old and a windstorm comes along and damages it, and the insurance company agrees to fix the damage.
Okay.
Okay. If you have an actual cash value policy, they only owe you for the 15 years that are lost in the continued use of that shingle. Okay. So let's say it's a $10,000 claim. They owe you $5,000.
Okay.
Um, and then they're going to take your deductible out of that and of 1,000 and give you 4,000 and they're
Mm-hmm.
done. Okay. But if you have a replacement cost policy, RCV, replacement cost value, they're going to pay you that 4,000 up front. But once you have the job completed and you show them receipts and or pictures that it's been completed, they'll pay the additional 5,000.
Okay.
Okay. So when you're looking at a policy, you typically want to do a replacement policy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because unless you got a lot of cash reserve and you don't mind spending more money out of pocket when you have a claim.
And
But
is the roof delineated out as a separate item, or is it like replacement of the whole house, replacement of the roof, replacement of this? Like, is it?
it can be, again, that's an agent question. But the majority of the time, it's a replacement cost on everything. But they have started putting separate line items for
For the roof?
deductibles on wind and hail and
Oh,
or what type of coverage you have on the roof, because the roof has been I mean, insurance companies pay for the most roofs every year in the country. They just
okay.
do it because of
That's
the
the biggest
insurance
claim. Yeah.
policy. And yep.
Okay.
So carriers are finding ways to,
Save money.
pass on more of that risk
Right.
to the homeowner. So
Okay.
So the replacement cost value is what you want. The actual cash value will end up having you make a mistake. You know, what's the mistake to avoid? You've got an ACV, not an RCV, and you didn't know it. The
Yeah.
other thing is that automatic conversion that they added to their policy that you might not be aware of. Okay. So
Because it can
the
switch from
first,
one to the other, you're saying. Yeah.
yep, yep,
Okay.
and it's based on the age of the roof, not how long you've had the policy. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
it's possible that let's say you were with State Farm, and you had an RCV policy with a $500 deductible, and then you decide to switch to Farmers Foremost, um, and your roof was 23 years old. Well, an agent could actually tell you that they're giving you an RCV policy, but if your roof's 23 years old, back in the back of the policy, it converts you to an ACV if your roof is older than 15 years.
And what if you
So,
don't, how do they know how old the roof is? Because I feel like that's not always
well,
known, right?
it's not always known, and that's something that gets difficult to prove.
Yeah.
So it's important, not permits are not pulled on every job. There's only certain cities and municipalities that require the permits to be
Right.
pulled. So a permit can tell you how old the roof is, but
Okay.
also copies of the receipts, real estate stuff. I've seen people go back, to say a transfer, when this house was
The
listed, it said
listing
the roof
said,
was done
yeah.
in
Okay.
2017.
Right. But a lot of
So
times, I mean, they just don't know, right? And so,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
interesting.
So
So, oh,
I
go ahead.
just had one where the lady had to go back and pull her uh, old records to prove that the roof was less than 15 years old. And it actually
Uh,
was 14 and a half years old.
whoa, that storm
And
came
she
just in
still
time.
had to cancel checks
Oh,
from
geez.
14 and a half years ago. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so, um, you know, ACV, RCV, that's a place people make mistakes.
Okay.
And it drives me crazy that these agents can sell something and not know that there's a part in the back of the policy that affects the actual payouts.
Right.
Agents aren't that very familiar with claims. Their job is to sell. They
Right.
don't
They're
get
selling the
involved
policy.
with the
Right.
claims.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you see
so,
the other side of it. Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
something happens in your house, like should you call the insurance company first? Do you call the contractor first? Like how do you go
Um,
about making a claim? Or are there
well,
tips on the best way to do that?
yeah. The biggest answer to that is difficult. Okay. You have a responsibility as a homeowner to protect against further damage.
Okay.
Okay. So let's say a large branch punctures your roof and
Yeah.
you've got a hole. Okay. You can immediately call a roofer. They can come out and they can do temporary protection, tarp
Okay.
it and or even, do framing if it's necessary. Like that
Okay.
one where the tree fell on the house.
Yeah.
We had to do a temporary roof there and we had to do temporary supports to make it safe.
Okay.
So I think, I've had as much as 8,000 to 15,000 in temporary repairs.
Okay.
And
Well,
it's all covered by the claim. You don't
okay.
need to wait. You don't need to wait for their permission.
Okay.
So, um, yeah, um, I had somebody knock at the door, so sorry.
Okay.
Um, so if it's not an emergency, I mean, you can file your claim, but I always advise let us put our eyes on it first, okay?
Okay.
Because if it's long-term issue that's causing the leak and it's not going to be covered by a claim, then you don't want to file a claim. You don't want to have it on your record. If
Oh,
it's
interesting. Okay.
um, if it's a easy repair and it's only going to be, $1,200 or $1,500, and you got $1,000 deductible, you don't want to file a claim.
Right.
So you want to let somebody that's familiar with the claim process see the property before you file the claim, see the
Okay.
damage before you file the claim. So if whenever that's possible. Now, if it's an obvious no-brainer, big tree on the house, you can file the claim,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
but you do have responsibility to take preventive action. You don't,
Okay.
and you don't need any estimates for that. Okay.
Okay.
Getting the
So you have to
tree,
file the claim and wait for them to come look at it and like
right.
wait for them to approve it. And then it's a week
Nope.
later and your house is flooded. And yeah. Okay.
Right. Exactly. Pay to get the tree off the house, pay to get the property protected.
Okay. Okay. Good to know. What else? What are some of the other mistakes?
Other mistakes people make, if you have a finished basement, okay, you want to make sure that your agent knows that and you have appropriate coverage. Okay. Sewer backup. I don't know the exact clauses and stuff and what policies cover, but I had a friend of mine who had a finished basement with a custom woodworked bar, and he had $40,000 in woodwork. And when his sump pump failed, he had a cap of $7,500 and being paid out. Okay, so by the time you dry it out, tear out what's wet, there's 10,000, and then you got to rebuild everything that got damaged. He didn't
Yeah.
have appropriate coverage.
So a normal coverage is assuming your basement's unfinished, basically, and you have to like get
Exactly.
an extra for the finished basement. Okay, I have to look into
Yeah,
that one.
that's called endorsement. Okay, or a
Endorsement. Okay.
rider. Yep.
Yeah,
So you want
rider. Okay.
the other place is there's one called it's either called ordinance of law or building code upgrade. That's an
Okay.
endorsement also. Okay, the easiest example for that is ice and water shield that is now required by Ohio code to be part of a roofing job. Okay, so if your house doesn't have it, the insurance company doesn't owe for it. Okay, the insurance company only owes for replacement and repair of the damage and the correct way to fix the damage. Okay, but if there's something that's required on the repair when it's redone that wasn't required when it was
To bring
previously
it up to
done,
new code.
yep, that
Okay.
falls on the homeowner unless
Mm,
you have that endorsement or rider.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's
What?
another one. The other thing, and I have one going on right now on this, is other structures.
Okay.
Okay. Other structures are typically covered at 10% of the value of the main dwelling. So
Okay.
I've got a claim on a property out in Worcester right now. The house was insured for 315,000. Okay, so their other structures are covered at 31,500, if that's the right
Mm-hmm.
math. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Now they had a detached garage and two other large barns.
Okay.
Okay, so they had over $40,000 worth of damage from this windstorm on the other structures, but their payments are capped at 31,500.
Mm,
So they've got to come out of pocket for the rest of that. And that's
okay.
just roofing and gutters. Now what
Right.
happened? What happened
If
if,
it caught fire or something. Yeah.
exactly,
Right.
know? So, it's very important. I mean, you can up that, but that's where it's important to have a relationship with an agent that understands your needs, understands your property,
Mm-hmm.
and understands your willingness to assume more risk. Some
Right.
people are willing to take risk, others
Sure.
aren't.
Right. Because all that
But
comes at a
you have to be
cost
willing
too.
to, yeah,
Right. Yeah.
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 And that's why it's so hard to get apples to apples, especially when every commercial is telling you how fast and easy it is and it's about saving.
To get a
Okay.
lower. Right.
Yep. So when you talk about claims, I previously owned Alexander Body and Fender also,
Mm,
and
mm-hmm.
we did 95% insurance work. Okay.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
again, we were dealing with the carriers and we were dealing with people's policy choices.
Right.
So, you know, people say full coverage. Well, what is full coverage? Or replacement cost? You actually have to take the time to get an education from an agent to make sure you're properly covered. Okay. Because if you're a single mom with one car and you think you have full coverage on that car and you slide off the road and it takes 2 weeks for it to be repaired, rental reimbursement while your car is being fixed is an endorsement. It's not part of full
That's part of
coverage.
it. Right.
Yeah.
I was sitting in a body
So,
shop the other day waiting for my car, and this woman came in and was like, my son got in an accident, and we want to know if we can tow it here. They're like, sure, you can tow it here. It might be October till we can get to it. And she's like, oh no, like he goes to school and he has a job, and like, and I'm
yep.
thinking, oh, I hope you have rental coverage.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
even rental coverage, a lot of them are capped.
Mm.
So again, I actually got my insurance license. I'll date myself here and in 1989. So
Oh
I've
wow.
been in
Okay.
some form of the insurance industry now for what is
Oh,
that,
interesting.
4
Okay.
years? Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So, and I've been on the claim payment side between Alexander Body and the roofing company
Sure.
for a decade. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I've handled, I don't know how many. I mean, some years it was as high as $5 to $7 million worth of claims in 1 year.
Okay.
So I've seen all the different carriers, how they process claims, what their policies look like, who's easy to work with, who's hard to work with, all those
Yeah.
things.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna ask if that's like really how big of a piece that is, kind of the service or the responsiveness and stuff like that.
Well, again, this is just my opinion, but I say if you know their name, if you know their mascot, if you know their slogan, if you know their celebrity endorsement person, run far and run fast. They're spending their name, they're spending their money on stadiums, celebrity endorsement people, tricks and gimmicks. And when it comes time to pay claims, guess what they
Yeah.
don't have? Money. They gave it all away to give you this false sense of security.
Right.
So, um, I say have a relationship with an independent agent that will sell you a policy from a company you might not have heard of.
Yeah.
Okay. Because then it's a good policy. That agent is familiar with the carrier and the
Mhm.
policy and their claims. Because if you deal with a smaller insurance company and you're an independent agent, sometimes you're part of the claim process.
Right. Right.
The big carriers, they do not want their agents to know anything about the claims.
Okay.
Okay.
Because then they'll
Because they're
stop
the one
selling it.
that sold that. They're the one that
Right.
sold that sense of comfort. So if the claims department's not handling them well, who's the agent going to defend?
Right.
Their customer, not the insurance company. They're
Yeah.
going, hey, I sold them this. Why aren't you paying for it?
Right.
It's
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's important. Have like I say, I like the independent agent process. That agent
Hmm.
can represent,
Multiple
3 to as many
carriers.
as 10 different companies and
Yeah.
find the one that's best for you.
Right.
Um, one not every carrier is good forever. Okay. And this is a high-end example, but somebody who has a $250,000 theater room in their house and or $150,000 kitchen,
Hmm.
with sub-zero freezers and,
Right.
different ovens and stuff like that and hoods needs a different carrier than Allstate or State Farm. And there are carriers that specialize in high-end homes. The
Okay.
Hartford, Amica, Westfield, they have a policy and you pay a higher premium to
Sure.
have it. But again, it's a risk transfer contract. How much risk are you willing to assume?
Right.
So,
Very good. Well, lots of good nuggets there. I appreciate your time.
The other mistake, let me finish this
Yeah,
one. 'Cause
is there
one
another
of the
one?
biggest,
Okay.
well, one of the biggest mistakes people make, like I said earlier, is waiting on the insurance company. But the other is believing and trusting the insurance company. Okay,
Okay.
the insurance company is not the construction expert. They're not the repair expert.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that is your contractor. That is your body shop. So
Right.
the risk transfer contract only makes the insurance company the payer. Okay. So as long as you're dealing with a reputable contractor who can explain everything and understands the correct way to fix things, then the contractor should be in control and the carrier should just be reimbursing and or paying for the claim.
Are
A
you
lot of
talking to the insurance company directly, or how does that work?
We prefer to be involved, yes,
Okay.
because we can go back to them and it happens all the time. I mean, almost every claim we have what's called a supplement, things that
Okay.
they. So we'll go back and we'll say, hey, you didn't give us enough ice and water on this claim. Hey, you missed this chimney. There's 2 chimneys on the house. We had to flash 2 chimneys, not one.
Okay.
And you send them a picture and they say, okay, yeah, you're right. And it changes the amount that's paid out.
Okay. Okay.
So it's easier for us to do it because we're familiar with the terminology and the
Right.
language than
Yeah.
it is for the homeowner to do it. So
Right.
we want to be involved. We want
Okay.
to be at the adjuster meeting. If an that's another thing I like to say. Uh, Having an adjuster come to your home without having an insurance qualified contractor there is like going to court without an attorney.
Okay.
You don't know the processes, procedures, and language. You
Yeah.
might not get everything you deserve.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Anything else?
No.
All right.
How'd I do on
That's
my list? Did
good
you highlight
list. I
stuff? I
think you
got
got
most
it
of
all. The
them.
scheduled reductions is what you were talking about with the 15-year thing,
Yeah.
or is that
Well,
something
well,
else?
all they're all starting to come out with. Allstate was the first one. It's called a roofing reduction schedule,
Okay.
and it flat out they'll come out and they'll say, okay, we're approving you for a full replacement, and it's $15,000. Now let's go to the roofing reduction schedule on page 37 that says your roof, if it's 1 year old, you get 100%. If it's 2 years old, you get this, and it just goes down.
Okay.
I first came across this with an elderly couple in Fairlawn
Okay.
that had a very large house, and Allstate approved a $32,000 roof. And then by the time they did the roofing reduction schedule, because of the age of the roof, they paid out like $4,200.
Wow.
Yeah,
Jeez.
yeah, and there was nothing you could do about it. And that unfortunately was an
Right.
elderly couple that got a phone call from somebody that said they could save them money
Sure.
and saved them, what, $180 a year,
Right.
which they
That's a
said
lot
was
of years.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of
Right.
years break even on that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I know my homework to go look at my insurance policy, that's for sure.
there you go. Yep, and don't try and figure it out on your own. Have a
Yeah.
trusted agent. Share your
Right.
policy with an agent. And the other thing is, with everyone should start looking. Everyone wants to save money, but also you should look at your limits. I mean, the cost to rebuild right now. I mean, that $315,000 on that house out in Worcester, that's a $500,000 rebuild.
Okay.
So they don't
Yeah.
have enough coverage. They didn't have enough other structure coverage, and they don't have enough homeowners coverage.
Okay. Yeah.
Because post-pandemic, materials, labor, everything's gotten more expensive.
Right.
We've all seen inflation.
And that's different than replacement value? Like, would that,
Well, formula of risk. Okay, every premium is a formula of risk. So if somebody says they're giving you a $500 deductible and $350,000 on the house,
like, it's a set amount, the 350,
yep,
it's not whatever it's worth at the time to rebuild or whatever?
they always have to put a price on it. Okay,
Oh,
so
okay.
every quote is putting a value. So one of the first things you want to look at is what are they valuing the property at?
Okay. Yeah. As we all just got our property evaluations increased, right? Like, yeah.
Exactly. So
Okay, awesome. Well, I appreciate your time and all these great tips. And if anyone
Oh,
needs help with the claim, you're the guy, I think.
yeah.
Always be fair.
Yep.
Love it.
Alwaysbefairroofing.com.
Yeah.
And I'm around and about at lots of networking events. And then also I'm on Facebook, and the phone number is 330-818-0203.
Okay, great. I'll put that in the notes too. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.